There is a struggle, a conflict inside every one of us. This conflict is so fundamental to our existence that the whole quality of our lives will depend on how well we manage this conflict. I'm speaking about the conflict existing between our safety needs and our growth needs. Sometimes Maslow uses the term deficiency instead of safety, and they have a lot in common, deficiency with safety needs, but we'll talk more about it in a future video. Now, what is this struggle, this conflict within? Let's see what Maslow has to say. According to Maslow, every human being has both set of forces within him. One set clings to safety and defensiveness out of fear, tending to regress backwards, hanging on to the past, afraid to grow, to take chances, afraid to jeopardize what he already has. I hope you see the role that fear plays regarding our safety needs. As a matter of fact, I would say that this is the actual force behind our safety needs. Fear. Fear of losing our security, our safety, fear of compromising our comfort, our peace of mind, fear of the unknown, fear of what may happen, and fear of what's beyond our control. Now, these are not trivial concerns, friends. Our safety needs speak of a more fundamental biological need that we all have, and that is the need of self-preservation. Now, this is a very important force within, right? But it's not the only force. So let's go back to the quote. The other set of forces, our growth needs, impels us, let's say, forward towards wholeness, towards uniqueness of self. This is a very important existential idea, friends. Actually, an existential need. The need we all have of feeling like we're not a statistic, that we're not a stereotype, that we're unique individuals with a unique path, a unique calling. So, okay, that is behind our growth needs. Our growth needs push us in that direction to develop wholeness, uniqueness of self, toward full functioning of all our capacities, toward freedom, independence, and so on. So, our growth needs wants us to be mindful of our skills, our talents, and even our passions so we can develop them and we can see the potential that we have. We can become all that we can become and we desire to become. That is actually self-actualization, friends. Now, prior to making an important decision in life, right? Right before embarking on a new adventure or starting a new chapter in our lives, let's say moving to a new place or when we're considering starting on a new job, getting married, or at least getting engaged, right? Something big. Prior to that, what we normally do is a little assessment. We negotiate with our safety needs and our growth needs. We consider the risks involved. We consider the sacrifices that we're going to have to do, and in the end, we make a choice. According to Maslow, he says that most of the time, most people at the end they prioritize our safety, the safety needs. They think it's wiser to play it safe, right? Why incurring in any risk and why making any sacrifices? Why compromising what you already have? Why compromising your peace of mind? Why stepping into the unknown? If you embark on this adventure, you don't know how it's going to end up. And you might end up in a very bad place, bankrupt, heartbroken, who knows, right? So why taking those risks? Play it safe, prioritize your safety needs. Okay, that's what most of the time most people do according to Maslow, and I agree. And the problem with that problem with that attitude is that it means zero growth. When you prioritize your safety needs, you're saying no to the person that you may become, the person you want to become. So if you think about it, that's a form of self-betrayal. And I can give you some examples. Okay, so, but let's start with this one. Let's say that you have a thing for acting. You've always had a thing for acting. You like acting. And right now, at this point in your life, you maybe, you're older, maybe you're married, have children. But this is something you've always felt very strongly about. Now, if you don't at least give yourself the chance to tap into this passion, this potential talent that you have, you will never know the kind of individual you actually are. You will never know that potential in you. Now, that does not mean that the right thing for you to do right now is to quit your job and quit your life as you know it and pursue a career in theater and become a professional actor. No, that's not what it means. It's simply the idea here is that you at least find an outlet, right? Find a way to express this talent and make this talent manifest in some way as a hobby with a group of friends or something like that. Because here's the thing. You're going to, if you do that, you're going to learn something new about yourself and about the world. You might be able to develop a talent that you have in you that you might be able to use it in the future in some other capacity. So it's something that is laying in you. It's a potential that it's waiting to be tapped into for your own good, for your own benefit. So we all have these capacities, as Maslow says. And the right thing for us to do, friends, is to become aware of them and to use them. That is knowing ourselves rather than betraying ourselves. That is growth, but it requires taking risks. It requires getting out of our comfort zone. Now, do you remember in the previous video, I talked about the what I consider to be the greatest paradox of existence, right? The fact that most people in the world, they want an easy life, a life with no stress, no problems, remember? A life in which you don't make big sacrifices, you don't work, you don't struggle. Well, I hope you see why this is a paradox, why this is the most misguided form of existence that you can conceive. Because, friends, when there's no work, when there's no sacrifice, there is no growth. There is no self-actualization. There is no possibility for you to know the kind of individual that you are. Now, there's more to Maslow that I want to share with you. In fact, he uses this beautiful illustration of a child, a toddler, in order to show us how this tension between our safety needs and our growth needs can play out in our lives, right? In our development. So let's go back to Maslow. This is Maslow. I quote, "We may use as a paradigm a toddler venturing away from his mother's knee into strange surroundings. Characteristically, he first clings to his mother as he explores the room with his eyes." Okay, I want you to picture that idea, right? This mother getting into a new environment. Let's say a doctor's office. She's in the waiting room with her child sitting on her knee, and the child is at the beginning, just exploring the room with his eyes, just making sure everything looks okay, looks safe, right? And let's continue with the quote. Then the child, there's a little excursion, continually reassuring himself that the mother's security is intact. So now we have the child on the floor walking and exploring the room, but always turning around and looking at mom, making sure that his safety, his security is still there. These excursions get more and more extensive. In this way, the child can explore a dangerous and unknown world. If suddenly, however, the mother were to disappear, the child would be thrown into anxiety, would cease to be interested in exploring the world, would wish only to return to safety, and might even lose his abilities. For example, instead of daring to walk, he would creep, he would crawl. Now, I want to talk to you, mental health professional and therapists who are watching this video, because I've heard so many times therapists saying things like the main goal of their practice is to provide a safe space for their patients. Right? That's the goal, a safe space. So I hope you're beginning to see how inappropriate, let's say, this goal is in therapy, and not that it's not important. I mean, don't get me wrong, you must absolutely provide an environment of safety for your patients so they can express themselves and they can talk about their lives and their problems freely and so on. That's important, but that should never be the goal. The goal must be growth. Growth. You don't want to be that overprotective mother, right? To continue with Maslow illustration, who would not put the child on the floor for fear of an accident, right? Seeing the child just walking, tripping, and probably hurting himself in the process. You don't want to be that therapist that is so afraid, so concerned of your patient's safety. Because once again, if you prioritize the safety needs of your patient, you're saying no to their growth. And that's in the end what you should be striving for. Now, if you think about it, many, if not most, mental health conditions have to do with a limitation. Okay, your patients feel limited in some important way. Your patients want to be happy, they want to enjoy life, they want to have peace of mind, they want to have friends, they want to express themselves freely, but they feel they can't. They feel they're dealing with an obstacle they cannot put their finger on. They don't know what it is. And let's say that you're dealing with a patient with a severe case of social anxiety, which is unfortunately it's quite common. And let's say this patient has a really, really hard time just talking to people, and to the point which she would not go out of the house for any reason. And now it's sad with the technology we have available, right? We can order our groceries and our food to our home, and we don't have to go out to the world. Okay, let's say that's your patient. Okay, the first thing you want to do is in your safe environment, right? You want to make sure that your patient is aware that this is a problem and that she's dealing with a limitation. Number one. Number two, you want to encourage your patient to engage people. So let's say you tell your patient, hey, try to go out at least once a day. Try to step into a new place, a store, a coffee shop, and just do that and come in and out. Okay, and tell your patient that she's not going to be successful all the time or every day. Okay, because it's very difficult for her. But ask her to try, right? At least once a day to go to one new place, a store, whatever. And then when she feels a little confident doing that, and she succeeds, let's say 50% of the time, now tell your patient to try to make eye contact every time she step into a store, a coffee shop. Eye contact with the I don't know, the store clerk or the front desk person, and see if she can look at these people and acknowledge them, and maybe give him a nod or something. And once again, reassuring your patient that she's not going to succeed 100% of the time, but at least encourage her that she tries to do that. And let's say 2 weeks later, okay, your patient is comfortable, looking at people in the eye. Well, the next thing you want to tell your patient is to now greet, say, okay, now try to say good morning. And then you keep pushing your patient to develop that skill, right? To interact with people, to talk to people. You do it little by little, and you make sure that your patient is doing this voluntarily, that your patient does not feel forced, right? She doesn't feel like she's going to disappoint you for not being successful 100% of the time. You got to make that very, very clear to her. But I hope you see what I'm saying. Make sure she takes little steps in that direction. Entering a store and then acknowledging people, then nodding, okay, and then greeting, good morning, hi, and then take it to the next level. Hey, how are you doing? How's your day been? And that sort of thing. I guarantee you that your patient is going to feel a lot better about her life because she's going to feel progress. She's going to feel like she is overcoming this condition that she has. So that is growth. But again, it means making those little sacrifices. Now, I want to talk to you, or the rest of you, who are non-mental health professionals, but who might be dealing with a mental health condition like anxiety and depression, I want you to know that what most of the time triggers or exacerbates these conditions is change. Okay? Change and the uncertainty that it implies. This is one of the safety needs, right? This is one of the concerns. Fear of the unknown, fear of what may happen, fear of change. So I I I know this young lady, know her very well, who had an episode of anxiety simply because she got a new phone. She had lost her phone, so she had to get a new one. And when she was installing the apps and updating the phone and doing all this process, she was so stressed that she had an episode of anxiety. And and I know this other young man. This is a quite sad story for me, who turned down a scholarship because it involved moving to another state. Right? And he said he did not know anybody in this state. He was not interested in going there. He didn't have any family. So this young man prioritized, obviously, his safety needs over his growth needs. And I think it's sad because this young man never considered the opportunities that he would get in this new place. Yes, of course, you don't know anybody there, but you can make friends, right? Maybe you will meet very interesting, important people in this new place, in this university. Maybe you will meet your, uh, I don't know, your wife or something like that. He never considered the skills that he would develop, the kind of professional or the kind of man that he would become, the experiences that he would have, and so on. He was not interested in any of that. He simply decided to play it safe and said no to a scholarship. Like, that's unbelievable to me. I also know this man who is a little older than me, one of these eternal bachelors, right, who never seem to find the right woman, when in reality he's simply afraid of commitment, right? And he is afraid of losing his freedom, his independence. Um, this man is a really, really good man. It's a really good friend of mine. I have encouraged him many times to grow, right? To say, hey, I mean, make that commitment and see how it goes. But he always says the same thing. And maybe this is something that will resonate with you. He says, well, what if this goes wrong? To which I always reply, what if it goes right? What if this turns out to be the best thing that you've ever done in your life? Like, you will never know unless you try. But you gotta try. You gotta risk. You gotta make sacrifices. Because if you play it safe, same thing. You're never gonna be the person that you know you can be and you want to be. Like, this guy's really good, and I know he can make a great husband, even a great dad. I'm sure he can live like a great, great life, but he's too afraid to try, too afraid to put himself out there. No risk, no sacrifice, no growth. And finally, this woman that I worked with a few years ago, she she was so unhappy about her job. She had been doing this job for like 30 years, and she detested her job. And she actually had a degree in something that has nothing to do with her job, right? A degree in anthropology. And one day we were talking, and I said to her, why don't you just try to do something different with your life? Like, why don't you find a job or do something related to anthropology, which is the thing that you really like? And she said to me that that it was not wise at this point in her life, because she had invested so many years of her life in this job, and she had the experience, and she had a nice paycheck, and she had a nice packet of benefits, health plan, retirement plan, and all those good things. So she thought that it was not worth the risking those things to do something that you actually love, to be a person that you would feel proud of. If that's not a form of self-betrayal, friends, I don't know what it is. But that is what normally happens when we prioritize our safety needs over our growth needs. When we play it safe and when we um, settle with the easy life, the easy, mediocre life. So I wonder what you think. I wonder what choice or important decision are you making these days? How often do you prioritize your safety needs? How open are you to experience new things? I mean, not that I'm not trying to say here that you should embark on any crazy adventure or you should marry the first person that you meet. No, 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 that's not what I'm saying. I guess in a way, you want to play it safe, let's say, but play it. Yes, okay, be safe, be mindful about the risk and all that stuff, but in the end, play the game. Because if you don't, if you sell with the easy life, no risk, no struggles, no stress, you're going to live a very mediocre life. You're going to betray yourself. You're going to suffer psychologically and existentially. Sorry for the bad news, but there'll be some good news in an upcoming video. For now, thank you for watching. See you next time.